Today, we're diving into the life and work of Thomas Hoccleve, the first autobiographical poet writing in English. He explored themes like madness, money, and mortality with striking honesty. We'll look at his key works, including The Regiment of Princes and the series, and consider his role as a Lancastrian poet and Chaucer's disciple. Let's begin. Let's take a closer look at Hoccleve's life and struggles. Born around 1367, likely in London, he spent about 35 years as a clerk in the Privy Seal office, copying official documents. Despite his steady work, he was often nearly destitute, relying on appeals to patrons and receiving an annuity that was rarely paid on time. Around 1416, he suffered a severe mental breakdown, which he described as madness, leading to social isolation and fear. This painful period inspired some of his most original poetry. He died around 1426, having been a devoted admirer of Chaucer throughout his life. Hoccleve's legacy is remarkable because we still have 3 manuscripts written in his own hand, including his complete poetic works. These holographs give us a rare, intimate glimpse into his creative process and how he presented himself as a poet. He lived in a time when poets depended on patronage, gifts, and commissions from nobles, but Hoccleve's experience was far from secure. His financial struggles and anxiety come through clearly in his poetry, making his voice unusually honest. He also offers one of the earliest personal accounts of mental illness in medieval England, revealing how it was understood and experienced. As a devoted successor to Chaucer, Hoccleve balanced respect with innovation, all while working in the heart of royal administration. His life and work were deeply shaped by the political and cultural shifts of Lancastrian England. Hoccleve draws heavily on Chaucer's style, using the same rhyme-royal stanza form and even echoing Chaucer's language. But where Chaucer's narrator watches with amused irony, Hoccleve's voice is anxious, vulnerable, and weighed down by financial worries. He doesn't try to match Chaucer's wit. Instead, he finds a new path, the deeply personal first-person voice of suffering. Hoccleve even commissioned a portrait of Chaucer, shaping how generations would picture the man. His elegy for Chaucer is heartfelt, mourning a master and friend lost. This complex relationship defines Hoccleve's poetic identity. Today, we're looking at Hoccleve's complete works, organized into 3 main periods. First, his early works, courtly poems, occasional verses, and translations from French, spanning from 1402 to 1410. Then, The Regiment, a major political poem written around 1411 to 1412, including occasional ballads and addresses. Finally, his late period, from 1419 to 1421, featuring autobiographical masterpieces and a Chaucer elegy, all dedicated to Prince Henry and written in rhyme-royal stanzas. This timeline helps us see his evolving voice and themes. La Male Reglet is Hoccleve's first deep dive into self-portraiture. Here, the narrator is both confessor and petitioner, someone repenting, but also blaming his own body for weakness. It's a mix of self-pity and self-knowledge that feels uniquely Hocclevian, something he explores more in later work. What's striking is the poem's precise sense of place. The Paul's Head Tavern near Westminster isn't just a backdrop, but a real spot, grounding his story in a specific London world. His confessions, from tavern visits to flirting and overspending, are vivid, funny, and honest. All of this is framed as a petition to health, blending personal confession with a plea for his annuity. It's a brilliant mix of commerce and confession. The Regiment of Princes stands out as Hoccleve's most widely preserved work, surviving in over 40 manuscripts, more than any of his other writings. It's a rare glimpse into early 15th century English culture, blending political advice with personal reflection and a nod to Chaucer's elegiac style. Dedicated to Henry, Prince of Wales, this work aligned Hoccleve with the rising Lancastrian power and likely earned him royal favor. Its core draws on a popular medieval guide for rulers, but Hoccleve makes it personal, weaving in his own struggles and a poetic tribute to Chaucer. In this opening scene, we meet Hoccleve, restless and sleepless, weighed down by financial worries that keep his mind racing through the night. As he walks by the Thames to find some calm, he encounters an old beggar, a figure who sparks a deep conversation. This meeting frames the poem as both a public guide on ruling England and a private plea for help. Hoccleve's very real struggles, unpaid wages, eye strain, loneliness, make his story feel raw and personal, blending politics with autobiography in a powerful way. In the heart of Hoccleve's didactic work, he suddenly shifts gears with a heartfelt elegy for Chaucer, his master and inspiration. This isn't just a break in the teaching. It's a statement about literary succession, about passing the torch. Throughout, Hoccleve tackles corruption head-on, drawing from his own experience to condemn extortion and bribery. He also weighs in on war and peace, urging a balance that was especially relevant as Henry V prepared for Agincourt. Courage, generosity, justice, and mercy, these virtues form the backbone of his advice to the prince. Today, we're looking at Hoccleve's series, a groundbreaking work that's only recently received the attention it deserves. Once overshadowed by Chaucer and Lydgate, it's now seen as a key moment in English autobiography and literary self-awareness. The series offers the first detailed account of mental illness and recovery in Middle English, told through Hoccleve's own manuscripts. It's a carefully crafted sequence of poems that trace his personal struggle and return to society, making it his most original and intimate masterpiece. In this part of the poem, Hoccleve looks into a mirror, searching for signs of madness on his face. The mirror shows only an ordinary reflection. No one else can see inside his mind, and neither can he fully trust what he sees. This moment hints at modern ideas about how we understand ourselves and mental illness. Even though he's recovered, people remember his madness. They watch him, whisper about him, and treat him like a threat. He's trapped by their memories, revealing the harsh social stigma that clings to mental illness, a stigma that won't easily fade. Here, we see a turning point in Hoccleve's story. His friend suggests adding moral tailies to the complaint, practical stories that show Hoccleve can handle serious themes responsibly. This compromise leads to new works, proving his recovery through thoughtful writing. The dialogue between them captures a deeper debate. Should Hoccleve publish and speak his truth, or stay silent to protect his reputation? Writing becomes both proof of his sanity and a step towards social healing. Here, we see how Hoccleve weaves together stories from the Gesta Romanorum with his own moral commentary. The tale of Jonathas, a merchant's son who loses everything to a deceitful woman who later repents, sets the stage. Hoccleve doesn't just tell the story, he adds a spiritual explanation, showing his skill in both narrative and moral teaching. These embedded tailies aren't random. They reflect his personal journey through suffering, recovery, and hope, grounding his work in a deeper, autobiographical meaning. Among Hoccleve's religious poems, one stands out, a ballad to the Virgin Mary. It blends courtly praise, seeing her as the supreme lady, with deep theological devotion. This mix was common in Chaucer's tradition, but Hoccleve brings his own personal warmth to it. Beyond this, he wrote many ballads for noble patrons, kings, and queens, poems that helped secure favor and mark important moments at court. They're windows into Lancastrian culture, even if they don't always reach the emotional depth of his major works. Hoccleve's writing is always meant for others, patrons, friends, readers he needs to convince. His autobiography isn't just a story, it's a confession, a plea, even a legal statement. He wants us to believe him about his poverty, his recovery, his sanity. This makes his work very different from a private diary. What's daring here is how he writes about losing and regaining his reason. His madness isn't a metaphor, it's his reality. He names himself, his job, his patrons, and his struggles with real detail. Before Hoccleve, poets used fictional narrators, but he breaks that mold. His life, with all its specifics, becomes the heart of his poetry, a truly revolutionary act. In this part of the talk, we explore how writing the complaint serves two powerful roles for Hoccleve. It's therapeutic, shaping his experience into words, and evidential, showing his mind's return to clarity. The poem itself becomes proof of his recovery. We also see his struggle with trusting his own sanity, reflected in the famous mirror passage. Beyond personal turmoil, Hoccleve faces social stigma, as others keep their distance even after he's well. His story offers a rare, deeply honest glimpse into medieval mental illness, and its social impact. Hoccleve's poems weren't just art for art's sake. They were practical tools in a tough economic world. He wrote to secure patronage, to earn steady payments, and to prove his worth. Poetry was deeply tied to survival. As a professional scribe, Hoccleve faced physical strain that limited his work options. His petition poems stand out. They're not desperate pleas, but dignified arguments for fair payment. Yet, his government annuity was often late, forcing him into debt. No medieval poet speaks more openly about the harsh realities of money and dependence. Hoccleve's poetry wasn't just art, it was political action. He celebrated the regime, advised the prince, attacked enemies, and legitimized cultural programs. But he also slipped in personal complaints and petitions. Politics and personal life are tightly woven in his work. Take his address to Sir John Oldcastle. It shows his Catholic loyalty and support for Henry V's anti-Lollard campaign. Writing in the mirror for Prince's tradition, Hoccleve positioned himself as a wise advisor, blending humility with authority. His regiment, dedicated to Henry V, praises the prince while offering counsel, reflecting Lancastrian cultural policy. In all, Hoccleve's poetry served the Lancastrian regime in both clear and subtle ways. Hoccleve's writing serves a powerful purpose. It's his way of fighting forgetting. He records his life and struggles so they can't be erased by poverty, madness, or neglect. His poetry captures the uncertainty he lives with every day, not knowing if his petitions will succeed, if his health will last, or if money owed will ever arrive. This waiting, this precarious time shaped by institutions and delay, weighs heavily on him. His work reveals a body aging, a mind haunted by past shame, and a restless anxiety that never quite lets go. Where Hoccleve really breaks from Chaucer is in his use of the autobiographical first person. Chaucer's Geoffrey is a crafted persona. Hoccleve's Thomas is a true claim of identity. His works, like the regiment's prologue and La Male Reglet, are groundbreaking poetry about the poet's real life, with the poet as the main subject. Hoccleve also shaped how we see Chaucer through the famous portrait he commissioned, an image that defined Chaucer's visual legacy. He created the first English elegy for another poet, starting a tradition of literary mourning. Using rhyme royal, Chaucer's signature form, Hoccleve showed his deep loyalty, but he also invented something new, poetry of the suffering self. Let's explore Hoccleve's unique literary style and techniques. He blends confession with petition, as in La Male Reglet, where personal regret supports a plea for payment. He often uses self-deprecatory humility, calling his wit thin, even when his skill is clear. Extended digressions, like his long Chaucer elegy, reveal his deeper concerns. Specific London locations root his work in real life. Dialogue drives his poems forward, presenting multiple viewpoints. And he favors rhyme royal, 7-line stanzas perfect for argument and reflection. This mix makes Hoccleve's voice truly distinctive. Hoccleve stands apart from other Middle English poets because we have 3 substantial manuscripts written in his own hand. This means we're not relying on copies made by scribes, which often introduce errors. Instead, we can literally follow Hoccleve's pen across the page. These holographs give us a rare, direct connection to the author's working methods and revisions. The Durham manuscript helps us decide which poems truly belong to him, while the 2 Huntington manuscripts hold much of his major work, showing different sides of his handwriting and creative process. In this slide, we explore key passages where Hoccleve reflects on his recovery and suffering. He directly states that his damaged wit has been healed, though wrapped in complex verse. His prayer shows acceptance. Illness is something to endure, framed by faith in God's mercy. Hoccleve also vividly describes his madness, capturing the wildness both inside and out. Finally, he honors Chaucer as the founder of English poetry, shaping how we view literary history. These moments reveal deep personal and cultural significance. Thomas Hoccleve's work holds a unique place in literary history. He gave us the iconic image of Chaucer and produced the first autobiographical poetry in English, truly groundbreaking. His writings offer the earliest literary account of mental illness and social stigma. Over time, scholars like John Burrow and Ethan Knapp have revisited Hoccleve, highlighting his innovations and the importance of his manuscripts. Though once overshadowed and dismissed, recent studies have restored his reputation, recognizing him as a vital figure in both literary and cultural history. As we wrap up, let's remember Thomas Hoccleve, a poet who made the ordinary extraordinary. He was the first to put his own struggles, his fears, and his daily worries into poetry. In doing so, he created a new kind of voice in English literature, honest, personal, and groundbreaking. That's his lasting legacy.